2 avalanches, 13 snowstorms, and Lord knows what else. Tiffany Slaton miraculously survived a 20-plus day stint, and then she gave a press conference about it that has literally divided the comment section as to what we're watching and the truthfulness of it. And we're going to talk about it in today's video.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup at hey, hey.
Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. There's a sofa here, and there's a Paul sitting on it. My name is Paul if you're new to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, well, my name is Paul. Okay, now, today, like I said in the opening, we're going to be going over the Tiffany Slaton press conference. Before we even get into it, I have to say this is alleged. This is sofa speculation. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a cop, none of that fancy stuff. And I will be looking at this from both viewpoints. So I want to sit on the fence and say, if this was maybe, embellished, maybe this is what it looks like. And hey, this could be really where she's coming from, possibly. But regardless, I don't know her. I don't know any of those situations, right? But this was a highly requested video that I do. And when I watched it, I was like, yeah, I don't know what to think about this, right? It's wild. So if you're unfamiliar with this, we're going to go over just a few key points to get us all on the same page of how we have arrived at the press conference that we're going to be breaking down. Tiffany Slaton's a 28-year-old woman from Jeffersonville, Georgia, and she went on a solo camping trip in California, Sierra Nevada mountains. Okay, these are major. This was April 2025, very recently. Now, this adventure turned into a survival story, okay? She goes missing for like almost 3 weeks before she was found alive. Now, let's go over a timeline of events and then just some bullet points of this, okay? So, April 14th, 2025, Tiffany starts off her solo camping trip in the Shaver Lake and Huntington Lake areas. She has like an electric bike, tents, sleeping bags, supplies, you name it, right? She's going prepared. April 20th, 2025 is the last contact with her family. She is also seen at a local store near Huntington Lake. Now, April 24th, 2025, eyewitnesses report seeing Slaton in the area. Fast forward, April 29th. This is when her family reports her missing. She's gone 9 days without contact, so they're like, what's up? Fast forward more. May 6th to the 10th, Fresno County Sheriff's Office conducts an extensive search. They go over nearly 600 square miles. They don't find any trace of her. Now, May 14th, 2025, a guy named Christopher, he's the owner of Vermilion Valley Resort near Lake Edison. He discovers Tiffany in one of his cabins. He had left it unlocked for emergencies just like this. May 15th, 2025, Tiffany's 28th birthday, she is reunited with her family, gets her medical evaluation. Okay, now let's talk about some key points of the whole survival ordeal, okay? So again, this is a planned 3-day camping trip that ended up turning into this 24-day, survival challenge or whatever you want to call it, right? So injuries, she, and we're going to hear from her too, but she falls off a cliff. She's unconscious for nearly 2 hours. She had to splint one leg, pop her knee back into, socket. She loses lots of equipment. She'll say that an avalanche destroyed her tent, her sleeping bags, left her with very minimal gear. Now, nutrition, hydration. She says that she survived by foraging wild leeks and melting snow. It's like a wild leek soup, I guess. Shelter, she says that eventually she finds this cabin right from that resort, okay? This was 30 miles from her last known location. And I guess the dude left it open for situations just like this, for people who might be in a situation, and clearly there was something going on. Now, let's talk about the aftermath, the public reaction, okay? So, obviously, major widespread attention, okay? People are like, oh, this was a miracle she survived. Other people are like, are we sure this story adds up, right? The injuries, the harsh conditions, the food, all this type of stuff, right? Now, having said that, the authorities really haven't shown any level of, hey, she's done something wrong or whatever, okay? Now, she has expressed a lot of gratitude for the support that she's gotten. She wants to go to medical school. She missed her initial enrollment due to this whole ordeal. So that's a very brief boom, 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 boom. Now what I want to do is let's look at that press conference. We're going to go through it. We're going to just pause it. It's going to be, go ahead and get yourself a seatbelt because it's going to be a long one, okay? Because there's so many different aspects of it that I'm just like, okay, if you look at both sides of this, it could be this, it could be that. So let's just go ahead and dive in. Okay, so what we're going to do, if you follow me before, you know kind of how I do these, we're just going to put the clips up here. We're going to watch them and we're going to talk about them. And that's it. So we're going to start off by hearing the sheriff or whoever he's going to get up here and kind of introduce the situation to everybody.
Well, good morning. Thank you for being here today. We are here today to talk about an incredible story, heroic story, something that you may see on TV that they would make movies about. But this story involves a young lady named Tiffany Slaton, who on her journey through the Sierra Nevadas here in Fresno County, it is truly an incredible story of perseverance, determination, and survival. This young lady, from about April 14th all the way through Easter, was on her way up through the Shaver and Huntington Lake areas. At one point, she spoke with some people at Huntington Lake near the China Peak Landing and talked to some folks. And she was on her electric bike with all of her equipment. And there were some other individuals there who did not have electric bikes. They commented on her electric bike. But this young lady made it up Kaiser Pass Road, all the way over the top of Kaiser Pass, which is a peak that's over 9,000 feet high. She went all the way back on that road toward the High Sierra Ranger Station to an area where you call it's the Y, or the fork in the road, where to left is Mono Hot Springs and Edison Lake, or what we also refer to as Vermilion Valley, and to the right was to Florence Lake. She traversed this area and following her GPS and some other things, and lost cell phone service. At one point, she took a very significant fall off the side of a mountain and had to actually give herself first aid and splint her leg due to this severe fall.
Okay, so I want to pause there real quick. So you heard a lot of the stuff is the things that we went over, like in the bullet points and that type of stuff, right? Now, again, we're going to be looking at this through the lens of like on the fence, right? Kind of a thing. So on one side, let's look at it like this is true, okay? First of all, these cops, these people, these forest rangers, all these people in this area, if you're around like major hiking areas, you hear and see some bad stuff, right? Of people going missing, people taking falls, never coming back out of the forest. I mean, have any of y'all listened to the Missing 411? I mean, do I need to say more? Okay. Like I literally listened to those kind of Laura Lodge, Missing 411, all those, right? So on that level, this would be like oh my gosh, we actually have a survival story, right? Now on the other side, and I see a lot of comments and stuff saying like, well, at minimum, even if she's not lying, like, you know, she did something crazy and took, you know, basically made other people risk their lives to help save her, wasted man hours, that type of stuff. So on that note, listening to just the journey of it, I'm like, oh, I would be scared to death to do this, right? And regardless of how one might feel about whether it's true or not, whatever, I'm just like, whoa, like this is a major thing that she undertook here. We're going to get into the whole thing of all the stuff that she says took place, but you know, just for now, we're starting off there. Now, another thing that people instantly had issue with is, and he's going to talk about it in a second, her in the background wearing the sunglasses and the blanket, okay? And once he talks about that more, we'll talk about it as well. She has main character energy and she's standing back there with that main character energy, and that like it really upset a lot of people just right off the rip. So let's keep going.
And as we spoke to Tiffany about this just remarkable story, thinking of going over Kaiser Pass, and there is somewhere between 10 and 12 feet of snow. The road hadn't even been plowed yet at the time that she went over. It wasn't plowed until somewhere around Monday the 12th or Tuesday, May 13th. And then after crossing Edison Lake, the lake's low right now. There's some what we call like little islands that cross the lake. She made it to the what we call sort of the north side of the lake, and then continued hiking all the way back to an area near Golden Lake. And if you look on a map, Golden Lake is not far from Rock Creek Lake, and she was about anywhere from a half mile to a mile from the Mono County, Inyo County line, but still in Fresno County, hiking up peaks as high as 11,000 to 11,200 feet. Just an absolute remarkable story. Her bike was left at a sign for the trailhead for Hopkins Lake. And so once the snow melts and we have an opportunity to get up there, we will be attempting to retrieve her bike for her, because that bike is what she said during her story is really what helped propel her on this journey and got her through the snow and kept her going.
Okay, so now on this part right here, I'm not familiar. Now, I actually have been to Fresno, but it's been a very long time since I was there. So, but not hiking or any of this kind of crap. Well, I did go to the Redwood stuff. I don't know if that's there, but anyways, I've been there. It's been over 20 years. So good Lord, I can't be expected to remember everything. Anyways, so this part right here where he's talking about all this like crazy stuff. I mean, this is where I'm like, you know, and people in the comment sections and stuff are like, especially ones that are from there are like, yeah, like this just sounds completely abnormal. If everything is on the up and up, and if everything is not exaggerated, if everything, whatever. I mean, this was kind of like a wild thing to just go kind of randomly do, right? Now, the part that's, you know, also concerning to people that I see in the comment sections is like, when you go on a hike or you do this stuff like this, and we'll learn this a little bit, where she really didn't like let people know her exact whereabouts. And this is where danger can come into play, because anything can and does happen, right? Now, the whole thing about also that comes up, and we'll hear her talk about this, like the abandoning of the bike and the abandoning of this and that. And, you know, maybe along the way, if you were getting into a dire situation, it was like, I can't, maybe the bike is, you know, the battery ran out, or, you know, who knows? I can't keep carrying it. It's just kind of wild, right? Overall, this story has a very tied up in a nice, pretty ribbon aspect to it that I think that is one of the things that has people going, huh. Now, also, it is, again, depending on where you're at, all this type of stuff. The Sherry Papini documentary just came out. Now, yes, we're talking about two totally different things here, but it doesn't help that something like that just dropped. And then you have this story coming out that's like just as wild as that, okay? Now, do I think that this young lady has some kind of criminal intentionality with this like Sherry did? No. I do not get this vibe from her at all. I get a different kind of energy, but we'll get into that later. Let's keep going for now.
And then obviously on May 14th, when the owner of the Vermilion Valley Resort was able to get in because the road had been plowed over Kaiser, he saw a pair of shoes outside of one of his cabins at Vermilion Valley Resort that he leaves open, which is at Edison Lake. And lo and behold, he observed Tiffany there, alive, battered, bruised, obviously dehydrated, but she was, in fact, remarkably and really, truly probably a miracle that she was alive. And then we were able to respond. And to my left today, we have Tiffany here. She's wearing sunglasses after being out in the snow for that long and the extreme sun. It did some possible damage to her eyes, so that's why she's here wearing sunglasses. She's going to get up and talk in a minute, and she's going to tell you about her story of perseverance, of determination, of not giving up, and just continuing the fight, and just having that belief that she was going to be found or be rescued. And eventually that day came, thankfully, when the road was plowed and the owner of Vermilion Valley Resort came and saw Tiffany there at the resort. So at this point, I will go ahead and have Tiffany come up, and she will share a little bit of her story as well.
Okay, so now before we even get into that, so he introduced the glasses thing, right? So, and I mean, that sounds legit to me, the sun blindness or whatever you call it. Okay, let's talk about, well, first of all, another article that I read said that when the guy found her, she was like, can I hug you? And I think her mom did something similar when she found out that she was alive. So we'll talk about that, right? Her family, and when I say her family, obviously I only know her and her mom and dad. They seem like very gentle, kind, possibly naive souls that might have put up with a lot of stuff from Tiffany. But we'll get to that again. That's just kind of my opinion. I don't personally know. Now, I want to say this before we even start off about the blanket thing, because so many people were like, why is she wearing a blanket? Like she just got rescued and blah, 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 blah. I think it's odd, but you're also talking to a blanket guy who, I mean, I don't have one on me right now because I'm wearing jeans, but I usually always am wearing a blanket. And so to me, I'm like putting myself in her shoes. I'm like, I could almost see wearing the blanket as like a comfort thing, right? I mean, often that's what they are, but what kind of comfort are we talking about? I don't know. I don't know her. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not psychic. But to me, her wearing the blanket didn't strike me as like I'm going both ways. I'm playing both sides of the fence here. At first, I wasn't like, oh, that's like a sympathy thing. I was like, oh, that's my comfort thing. That's my thing, right? Now, it could also be construed as she's trying to make it look like they just carted her in off the avalanche that she went through, you know, the 15,000 avalanches she survived, right? So there is that too. But the whole thing, like the glasses and that, us not being able to see her eyes is contributing to people being like, huh? Like, well, what's going on with this? But I digress. Let's keep going.
Hello. I didn't really come up with anything that's super planned for this. It's literally only been 2 days. But I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have. When I started, I had pretty much fallen off of a cliff trying to go on vacation for the first time.
Okay, so I just want to stop right there. So this is what I noticed with this part. First of all, overall, no matter what, I just think she's kind of socially awkward, right? This is a person who is going up here to talk to a room full of people, okay? So then this part right here. So I didn't really plan anything for this, but I'll try and do that. Without prompting, it just begins into, well, so I'm kind of like, well, you does sound kind of like you had something planned, but I mean, I think you would have to, right? Now, again, 2 days after this, then she starts, I pretty much fell off a cliff. To me, this is just the sounds of someone who's very socially awkward. Okay. Now, on the flip side, it's like, we're going to get into when she talks about this, like, well, where are all the injuries? Why don't you look way worse off? Like, what's up with that? But let's keep going for now.
I may never do a real vacation longer than 3 days ever again. When I fell off of this cliff, I was unconscious for about 2 hours and did indeed have to splint one of my legs and pop the other knee back into place.
Now, another thing I hear really big in the comment sections with this is, how does she know she was out for 2 hours and blah, 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 blah. Now, again, I don't know exactly how it works, but to me, it's like, okay, if you're going and you happen to have been able to look at the phone or your watch, and then you fell and then you woke up and were able to look at it, and you could say, oh, I was out for 2 hours. Now, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, none of that fancy credentialed stuff. But from what I see people saying, like, if you were knocked out for 2 hours, it's like a major head trauma. So we would be needing to see way more A, B, and C. One thing I want you to keep in mind that could be going on here is someone who is taking, whether it's intentional or criminal or whatever, or drama, I don't know. Someone who could be taking a scenario that took place and exaggerating it. So for example, almost like me, where it's like, oh my God, yeah, I fell off the sofa. I was out for like 3 hours. What that really translates to is I stood up from the sofa, scrolled TikTok for 20 minutes, forgot what I was doing, and then came back. You see what I'm saying? Like, we get it, Paul. You're dramatic. But a lot of the stuff she's saying, I think it's like she's just being kind of dramatic, right? Do I think she knocked herself out for two? Because when you think I fell off a mountain, was unconscious, you're thinking maybe what I did, like a slope, hitting trees, boom, 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 gone. I don't think it was that severe. We probably wouldn't be hearing from her right now.
From there, I couldn't actually get back onto the road. The main road was blocked because of the avalanche that I had been in. And of course, like a normal person, the first thing you're supposed to do is call 911. And I attempted that 4 or 5 times with no avail. And eventually got mad at my GPS and decided to ask, well, where's the nearest Starbucks? He was like, oh, well, we can answer that question. It's 18 miles from here. You can't give me 911, you can't get me GPS, but you can get me a Starbucks?
Okay, this part right here is a part that has people like, okay, what? And again, I don't know how the phone stuff works. And I saw in a thing that I was reading where they're like, essentially like, this is one aspect they are looking into, because it's like, how could you not call these things, but your GPS worked, right? Or like the GPS or the Starbucks or whatever it was, okay? It was a little bit like, really? Really? Okay, is this really what took place? So that dynamic right there is a huge red flag for a lot of people that I see of like, and that will be one area that if there is something nefarious going on here, if there is some sort of fibbing going on to some massive level, technology would be the way that that would come out. Now, also from what I've read so far, you know, they're basically like, look, there's no other eyewitnesses to this. So even if she's being dramatic, even if she's being this, like, we can't prove that, right? So this could be a scenario where, you know, she's not pulling a Carly Russell where she's talking about kids missing off the side of the road. You know, I was attacked and all this and kidnapped and all this type of stuff. You know, Sherry Papini, 2 Hispanic women took me and tortured me. She's just basically like, I went into the wilderness and got lost for 20 some days and then walked back out. And I just knew how to survive. And it could be as simple as that.
Yes, we can. It's also a shorter distance than trying to find the entrance. And in doing so, I ended up on this very long, arduous journey that I journaled to try and keep sane, and eventually managed to get to civilization.
Now, another thing that I see people talk about and that I picked up on here, and this is an example right here, where she's like, I journaled to keep sane and all this, which is completely legitimate, but it's also these nuggets of hinting at a story, a TV show, a this, a that. There's an element in here that could be benign, because like, pretend this happened to you, like this was totally legit, and you're like, oh my God, like I'm documenting this, I'm doing this. You could almost be doing that along the way, because you could be like, if I survive this, I'm going to tell my story, right? So it's almost like maybe that wasn't your intentions, but you ended up in the situation and you were like, well, look, we're going to get paid for this. Get your bag, girl, right? Like 100%, okay? So that part I found interesting, but also you'll hear these nuggets along the way. There's also some drama with the GoFundMe, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
I haven't really gone through all of the details. I ran out of a lot of food after 5 days. But I will do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, so before we get into this, she ran out of food after 5 days. Now remember, she was going on this, like, I don't even know really how long she wanted to go. It's like supposed to be a 3-day vacation, something like that. Turns into this huge nightmare. Let's listen to her talk about the food stuff. Also keep in mind right now, we have been covering the mushroom trial about foraging mushrooms. So when this happened, I was like, we have Sherry Papini and the mushroom trial combined into one. Like, how have we arrived here?
Did you eat? I mean, you were in the elements for how many days, and what did you eat, and did you ever at any point think, I'm not going to make it?
Well, the worst thing that you can do in an emergency situation is panic. I'm a traveling dialysis technician and an archery coach by trade. I didn't want to panic. In the first 5 days, I was still ready for my vacation. I had some of Fresno's best citrus.
Okay, let's pause there because I'm going to forget so much in this right here. Number one, the first 5 days I was still ready for my vacation. I didn't want to panic. Okay, there's a certain level there where I'm like, if everything's on the up and up and you have this scenario taking place and, oh, I've gotten turned around, there's no need to panic. I agree, but this is also where we need to recalibrate. We don't need to go further. Now, also where she's like, I'm a traveling dialysis technician, and, also, the archery person, and you're just like, okay, wait, hold on, girl, we need to process all this, right? You've thrown this out here. One thing that she does a lot is she embellishes and brags a lot, it sounds like. So there's like this grandiose type thing that goes on with the way she talks about stuff, and that has rubbed a lot of people in the wrong way, because it's like, well, what's going on here?
Which was funny because I'm kind of allergic to it at that point, but I did have food to begin with. But I'm a trained permaculturalist. That means I'm very good at foraging and helping people not go to the grocery store in very rural areas. And the Sierras has a large selection of leeks that is hard to find in other places. In case you don't know what that is, it's sort of a green onion. And I managed to survive off of these leeks and boiling the snow melt for a very long period of time, actually. And I journaled it. I think I've been out maybe 23 days on this.
Okay, now this part right here, when you want to go down the rabbit hole of like, okay, so one thing that sticks out, and I saw other people say in this comment section, how did she boil the water, right? Did we talk about this? Like, how are we able to do this with the snow melt, so on and so forth? Okay. Secondly, when she's like, I'm a trained permaculturalist, like this is another thing where it's like, okay, we got archery, we got permaculturalists, we got, what are the other things, right? Now, this is not to discount that somebody can be doing all this stuff, but it's also very convenient. She also mentions, the journaling thing or whatever. This is what this is giving at this point in this little segment here. It's almost like let me see if I can do this and survive, right? Because the multiple mentions of I journaled here or whatever, and again, she could just be referencing that, like, okay, I journaled here and I think I put in my journal, I did this or that. I survived off of this stuff. For those who don't know, it's this. I help people forage and do this. It's giving infomercial for here's my program for $5.99. And she doesn't have this, but just pretend for a second. Pretend like in 2 weeks they came out and were like, I'm selling my book on how to forage and live off the land. I'd be like, bam, there you go. That's what this was. This was a marketing ploy. That's what it feels like. But there's also the level where it could have been like opportunistic, and not in a bad way, but in a way of like, this happened. I did A, B, and C. I'm going to try and get paid for it now. I mean, you can't blame her.
And you slept outside, or did you have any cover at all?
At the beginning, I was coming to try and do a camping trip, so I had 2 sleeping bags and a basic tent. But at the end, after fighting nature for such a long time, I lost my tent, I lost my vestibule, and I did eventually lose both sleeping bags. So I was outside with nothing but a lighter and a knife.
Okay, so a lighter and a knife. So the lighter is obviously where she was boiling the snow from. We got our answer to that. She loses all the stuff. Now, this is what I think with that. Now, again, for me, I'm sitting here thinking, you're out in the elements or whatever. I would want to hold on to this stuff. Like, how do you lose all this stuff? Now, on the other side, like, I know what it's like for even the short hikes that I go on, and I'm way more out of shape than this young lady is. So, like, at a certain point where I'm like, okay, Paul, you're going to have to take a break and all that. And in my world, I'm like, oh, if I was carrying a backpack or had all that stuff, oh, that would be gone. I'd have to make that choice at some point. So just my very limited, very novice, very beginning level of hiking, I'm like, yeah, I can see having to ditch some stuff. If you were like, I don't know where I'm at, it's me or this, whatever. Also, if she did go through these elements and stuff like that, I would assume that one of the avalanches or blizzards took out the tent, right? And you know what I think of? Remember that case, and I can't think of the name of it right now. This is decades ago. People still don't know what happened to the 5 people who went camping in the woods. It was like in Russia or something, and their bodies were found, and it's like some people say it was this or a Bigfoot, and oh, it was nuclear stuff. I can't think of the name, but anyways, it's that where like their tent was all destroyed. And so for whatever reason, when she talked about this part, that's what I think of. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sure the elements would tear your stuff up after a while, but then that would also contribute to me thinking and expecting to see a really torn up person, and she just doesn't look like that.
Tiffany, after many days, how you avoid death to survive?
How did I avoid death? I'm pretty good at foraging, and nature is quite terrifying. So usually once you start finding things that are scary for you, you do your best to keep moving and get over it. And because of the mountains, I literally got over quite a few of them.
Now, this part right here where she's talking, this is where I think some of her stuff can be misconstrued and just kind of a person who describes things in like their own unique way. Because this part right here, she was like, nature is kind of terrifying. I'm pretty good at foraging. Like, it's the way she talks that it's just kind of strange, but same could be said for me, right? Then when she's like, well, because nature's, scary, whatever, and because of the mountains, I got over a few things. Like, I'm kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, are you talking about like things you saw in the mountains or the actual mountains? Like, she has an odd way of communicating a thought a lot of times, yet she's very well spoken. This is a person to me that sounds like super educated and like very well spoken, but also has a very like bad way of telling you what's going on up here at the moment. So you're just like, because the mountains are like, what did you see? Because my thought process is, did we run into bears? Did we run into this? Like, nature is scary. Nature is very unforgiving. Mother Nature is Mother Nature. She will always win, right? We can brace for it as much as we want, whatever, but at the end of the day, especially out there, like in this kind of land, we're like, girl, you could be like bears, mountain lion, you name it.
The sheriff mentioned that you have something called Ballerina syndrome. Is that accurate? And if so, what does that do in terms of making it difficult for you to hike?
So Ballerina syndrome is a syndrome that involves kind of what's known as a high arch. I'm unable to keep my feet on. Can't keep my heels on the ground for more than 3 inches, and it kind of looks like this.
Is that from dancing?
Not from dancing. I was born with this syndrome, and what it does is over time you end up not being able to keep your heels on the ground. So things like snowshoes are not something I can find because, well, stilettos are not exactly the best of athletic wear. But I tried my best to find what I could and found a pair of heels made out of leather.
Yeah, so help me out here. Is she trying to say that she was out hiking in leather high heels, or she found some along the way? This is what I'm talking about. And this could be totally me, right? But I'm just like, what other things does she have going on? The fact that the cameraman did not pan down to her feet is sending me over the edge, okay? Like, did not know the job 100%. Like, it was like, we need to see this. Because once she walked around and came back, I'm like, I think think she's standing on her tippy toes, like with whatever this syndrome is called. I'm not trying to say she doesn't have it, but it's one more layer to it. So I'm like, hold up. I almost get this vibe of like seeing this just like, and the only word that comes to my mind is fabulous. Like when you see somebody hiking, you kind of think of like burrowed down, but yet you see her, she's got her hair done up. She's got her blanket. She's got that green top on. She's got her glasses, her high heels. She's hiking fabulously, right? It's just like, I just can get this mental picture of it. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that this is going to end well.
Who are you of that man who, left that door open for people just like you, people in need? How grateful are you?
I honestly do not think that without Vermilion Resort, I would not be here at that moment, because that was the 13th heavy snowstorm I had been in, and it was going to be the last one. If he hadn't have come that day, they would have found my body there.
So 13 storms. So what do we have so far? Like the Avalanche 13 storms. Again, I'm not trying to doubt that this wasn't going on. Now I've seen people in the comment sections, and again, do I know them? No. Have I verified them? No. It's just Reddit comment sections. But people who live around this area who are kind of like talking in the way of like, that's not the way that blank was at this time, or we don't have blank in this area right now. Does that make that true? I mean, I don't know. I'm not there, but it's just like the context of it. And this is where, okay, so for example, where she's like, I survived 13 hard snowstorms. Like for her, I can imagine this, like pretend it started flurrying out. That's like one massive snowstorm. Avalanche, she saw some snow trickle down. There's an avalanche that she survived. It's almost like, to me so far, what I'm getting off of this is not necessarily somebody who has like committed a crime like Sherry Papini, Carly Russell, or incorporated others or a false narrative of others into creating a crime. I'm getting like drama queen. Okay, like that's maybe a good word for it, just drama queen. Where it's just like, girl, that's not an avalanche. Like that was like the wind blowing the snow, right? But again, I wasn't there. When you say avalanche to me, I'm envisioning you getting pummeled down a mountain, having to dig yourself out. You see what I'm saying? Of that. Or she could have seen the avalanche a mile away and was like, oh, I've survived that. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting with her.
I've got into an avalanche and 2 landslides in the process. When I came into the hospital, somehow because of the foraging, my blood work was perfect.
2 landslides, avalanches, falling down the thing, ballerina syndrome. This is what I'm talking about. Girl, her parents are exhausted, okay? They are exhausted at this point in time, okay? Now, again, the foraging. She keeps bringing the foraging up. And if you did that, great. We saw how it ended for Aaron Patterson, though. But there's something not right with this.
But I did have a lot of micro cuts. I have a lot of burns. But nothing that I don't think time will be able to heal.
Micro cuts and burns, and again, micro cuts, all that you just went through, and you got some micro cuts and some unnoticeable burns, okay?
And you were able to be found just in time for your birthday. How did that
Yes.
feel for you? Did you do anything to celebrate? I mean, your parents are here.
That was actually my goal when I ended up on some of those mountains. Was I did not want to celebrate a birthday away from my family. So I had made it a point to try and find some sort of building before the 13th, because the last things that I had for food in my bag was a Dunkaroo packet, because it was the closest thing to a cake I had. It was 3 cookies and a packet of icing, and a lovely lady had given me some elderberry syrup, and I really wanted to enjoy that on my birthday as hopefully part of a sandwich.
Okay, so this part right here, where she's like, oh, again, the birthday, reunited, it's all very cute. It's all very happy ending. Now this where she's like, oh, I still had this elderberry thing and all that. I mean, have y'all, again, I'm sorry, but have y'all listened to Lore Lodge and Missing 411 of people who have gone missing for even 10 days? Now, granted, she seemed to have stuff in forage. I honestly think what she was doing, it was just doing I'm kind of bored. Let's see if I can do it. let's see if I can do it. I'm just going to kind of wander out into this area and just see if I can survive. It's almost like she did it. Again, not like trying to commit a crime, but like just to let's see if we can do it. And then did it and basically maybe kind of not got caught, but was like, okay, I'm done. Like maybe things got a little out of control. I'm running out of food. I found this cabin. I did this, you know, can use GPS, but can't call for help. But, you know, I just think it's that. And then all the drops about, I did a journal, you know, we'll hear in a little bit about like, well, I would do a TV show if it would help my family. You see where I'm going with this?
You see shows like Survivor Man and things like that, and you generally think about somebody being a certain physical type. I wouldn't necessarily look at you and say that's a person that could last 3 weeks, and here you are. To what do you attribute this ability to survive under the worst conditions?
Well, while it may not look like it, I am a pre-Olympian for archery, and in the islands, I am number 2 in the world's islands for archery. In an archery session for 2 hours, we walk the equivalent of 5 miles and lift the equivalent of 2 tons. So my body type is not necessarily going to look like a boxer's, but it is indeed an athlete's.
Okay, this part right here, I've seen so many people talk about this. I'm pre-Olympic. This is what I'm talking about where, and again, I don't know what, from what I understand, that's like I could be like, yeah, I like to lift weights. I'm Mr. Olympia. I'm almost there. Y'all just keep your eye on it. Watch out, Arnold. Here I come. Right? But I mean, that's what I'm talking about. This is where it's like an embellishment. This is the vibe I get from her. I do think that this story has truth to it. I think it really happened on some level, but I think that it is highly embellished. For what reason, I don't know yet.
Did you see anything remarkable on your journey? Anything that stood out to you that you remember with animals, any encounters with animals?
I did indeed see every type of animal or come across every track for animals that could possibly be found in the Sierras, including a sort of mountain goat that I have not yet identified because I haven't had a chance to look at the prints. It's only been day 3.
Do you remember what day it was that your mind shifted of, I need to survive and I need to keep going and not give up? Do you remember what day it was?
Day 1. Once you fall off of a cliff and your parents are in the back of your mind from different issues, I necessarily would have said that I would rather, I can't say rather die because I didn't. I would rather live than have to deal with my parents seeing that I failed in such a dumb way.
Okay, now here's the other part to this too. That's how a lot of people say this. People were like, you would have to absolutely use, you know, torture tactics to get me up here and tell this story at a press conference. And she just said, I don't want my parents to see me fail or whatever. And I get strangers are different than your parents. The part that gets me was since day 1, since I fell. And I guess to me, I'm just like, well, if you went down this thing in day 1 and she couldn't get back up, I guess. This is where I'm completely thrown for like, how did we get 20 some days deep into this from day 1 falling down a cliff? How did we go down the cliff? And I mean, I do a lot of hiking. I would never go do something like this by myself, but that's just me. And a lot of people do, and that's great for them, right? I'm also older. You know, my body is, I mean, you know, to me, even though she has a blanket on, you can tell, I don't think she's lying when she says she has an athletic body. Like, I believe her that she does this stuff. Do I think that she's like, you know, some, you know, award-winning or whatever? I don't know. She could be, right? I mean, who knows? It could all be true, and that's why she survived. But, and there is a but. Okay. It's like, there's a lot of like, and I don't know if tooting of the own horn is the right word to use, but it feels like that. And again, like I took a 2-hour spill, this and that happened. And then 20 some days later, I'm, you know, getting rescued. Okay.
Do you have siblings?
I have 2 brothers, yes.
What have your brothers said about your amazing ability?
Both of my brothers are military, and that is not something that I wish to put on television. They are not the adventurous type. We'll put it like that. I don't believe that doing mountaineering is something in my brother's futures.
Will you ever do this again? Will you go alone on an excursion like this again?
If it was something that benefited my family, like a television show called Alone, I may attempt it in order to benefit my family's economy, yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things when she talks about her brothers and whatnot, I just get the vibe that she's kind of like, and I can relate to this because I'm literally one of these people where it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, if it's going to malfunction, it's going to happen with Paul. If the car is going to break down, it's going to be when I start it. It just is is what it is. I'm Sagittarian. I might have cracked the case. She's giving Sagittarian energy. I don't think that she's a Sagittarian because she was born on here. But like, honestly, this is to me what she gives. She gives Sagittarian energy, which is and then next thing we knew, mountain lions were flying through the air, and it's just like, how does this crazy stuff happen around Sagittarians? I don't know. I want to know myself. But when she was like, well, I would do it again if it was like for a show, like, whatever it is, Alone or whatever. That's where, again, I just feel like she's putting it out there. A journal, a TV show, something.
Was it, so what day did you actually start foraging and get off the roads? Did you leave your bike with the intention of coming back to it, or were you leaving it there to come back, weeks or months later after you'd gone?
So foraging is it's almost like going through the grocery store. Eventually you start, boys check out chicks, foragers check out things that you could possibly eat in emergency situations. So at the beginning, I had already started trying to supplement the things that I knew I wanted to eat with things that I had found in the environment. One of my favorite things to do, because I am Bermudian American, is part of the British culture is a lot of tea. Manzanita and pine needles is one of the most delicious herbal tinctures that I could probably come across, and it was very relaxing. If it wasn't for the life or death situation, I probably would have really enjoyed that aspect.
You made a fire every night? You made tea every night?
I did indeed make tea every day, partially because of my Britishness. But the other reason is when you're unable to collect a lot of carbs, the next best thing that you can do is to create a stockpile of micro minerals and vitamins so that you don't fall out.
Where do I begin, y'all? Okay, so this is the other thing too. Again, this is also like someone who this is their thing. The foraging, all that, the nutrient, we got it. That's your thing, girl. Own it. Work it, work it. Number one, the deputy or the sheriff, whoever that is behind her, his face expressions are taking me out. Okay, because he's like, I don't know if he wants to laugh or if he's bored or if he's self-conscious or all the things, right? So the first thing she's like, boys check out chicks, foragers check out surrounded, whatever. That's what I'm talking about, where there's just this social awkwardness to her, where it's almost like, that was a joke. That was really funny. Now, next up, there's that dynamic going on. I'm not sure if she has something else going on or not or whatever, but there's just this definite kind of social awkwardness, and I don't think it's translating well to some of the general public who's like really just like, oh my God, she's like whatever, right? I think that's contributing to it. But again, like this also where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna say this again. This video is not sponsored by the Lore Lodge or Missing 411 or what Mr. Ballin or any of those people, okay? Right? But I'm just going to say it again. The fact that she's sitting here talking about, I had tea every day. I don't know what to say about that. I just think this was an experiment to see if she could do it. I just think she wanted to see if she could do it. That's it. Nothing else, right? That's all this was. Nothing to see here, folks. That's what's going on. So I don't know what else to say about it, but I mean, let's keep watching, but literally that's just where I'm at with it. It's just that this is so weird. It feels like a press conference, but also a sales job.
Did you have survival gear with you to make a fire and things like that?
I had brought basic camping gear because this journey was only supposed to be a 3-day vacation.
What went through your mind when you stumbled upon that cabin? I mean, what were you feeling in that moment?
That was one of the heaviest snowstorms I had seen. I had actually gotten very lost at that point and didn't recognize that I was back at Edison Lake. I only saw white upon white in that storm. It was a little bit weird, but when I first came across it, it was a pristine Christmas tree and a tiny house, and it had markers like Santa's sleigh, and I could not understand. I actually thought I was losing my mind at that point, that I had somehow managed to make it to the North Pole. So I was not necessarily sure what I had come across, but when the door opened and I saw the best sleeping bag I had ever seen in the world, I wasn't necessarily thinking, oh my goodness, I'm rescued. I thought, It's a dry bed.
Okay, so this part here sounds realistic in the way where she was like, well, I actually made my way back around here, but I didn't know that I was there. And again, this is just research based on my consumption of stories like this from these channels that I keep mentioning. And also my experience of looking in the woods being like, yeah, everything starts to look the same, Your body does weird things when it gets tired like that. And the woods start to look the same, and wherever, the mountains, whatever. So for her to be like, yeah, I'd circle back around, that sounds legit. When she's talking about this cabin and it was like a snow thing, and I thought, you know, it's Santa, am I hallucinating, whatever. That sounds legit. Yeah, but she's like, oh, I'm rescued. Again, it's almost like I put myself into the situation and then I fix the scenario that I created, kind of a thing.
When you saw your parents for the first time when they arrived here in California, what did you do? What did you say? Tell me about that moment.
At yesterday, on my birthday, which is when I got to see them, I was not necessarily at the point of rescue. Most people think that once you've managed to make it to civilization, that the journey is over. But recovery doesn't start happening until your body is fully capable of being able to digest. And at that point, I hadn't been able to digest anything. I could eat, I could drink, but nothing was leaving my body. And it's one of the number one killers for people is actually just trying to not have problems in the bathroom. So I was very happy to see them, but I was intensely nervous because I hadn't made that transition yet.
Now, also, this feels like she has studied this, and maybe she did with her school, but it's almost like, again, it's like somebody studied this stuff and went to go put it into practice. And was like, well, I'm just going to go in the woods and kind of get lost, kind of do my thing, kind of see what happens. I'll bring all these provisions. I'll do this. I'll forage. I'll see if I can make it. You know, and then nature took its course, no pun intended.
Feeling that? How are you doing?
I'm doing much better. My digestive system has started functioning very well. I'm hoping that I'll see progress very quickly. My parents have told me that a lot of people have helped me to collect some funds for recovery, and I'm really looking forward to the recovery process.
Now, this is the part that I was talking about where they did a GoFundMe and then people started getting like upset about it. So they shut it down, took the money out. I don't know if they were able to keep the money or whatever, but it was like bringing a lot of negativity. You see these things happen a lot of times where people are like, well, wait a minute, huh? Why are you collecting money for this, that, whatever? And I haven't looked at the GoFundMe yet because I tried to pull it up and obviously it was gone, whatever. But my understanding, let me know in the comments if you know differently, is that one of the trains of thought I was seeing where people were like, why are you still collecting money? She's been found. Something of this flavor or whatever. But again, that's sofa speculation. Let's keep going.
Yeah, come on, Virginia or Bonnie.
You're looking at your daughter with such pride, and I understand that, and it's your only daughter. And she's apparently a better survivalist than your son. What do you want to say to them?
Well, we're not going to say she's better. We'll say that we tried to prepare them for whatever the adventure of life will send their way.
But your journey must have been horrible, waiting for that horrible phone call that you thought might happen. Did you think the call was going to come and it was going to be terrible news?
We're more optimistic than that. We know our children. We know their capabilities to be able to survive. Our children, we've always been outdoor people. Let me rephrase that. My children and my wife are more outdoor people. I would be more comfortable sitting inside in air conditioning in a condo. However, we raised our kids to be outdoor camper type people. Tiffany got the love of foraging and gardening and plants and bonsaiing from her mother and I, because that's what we do on our farm. We have a micro farm in Georgia.
Her parents seem like super sweet people. I mean, and this is where I'm not getting a nefarious vibe off her parents at all, right? They almost seem like naive in a sense, like almost like this. I mean, listen to what they're talking about. We raised our kids to be outdoors and we have a farm and we have, like, it's just this idyllic, like, they seem so sweet, you know, and they might be, again, this is their daughter. They know, right? Like you typically know your kids. So I feel like if Tiffany is kind of just this like free spirit, like I'm going to go walk in the, you know, in the fields of wherever for a week and come back out on the other side. That's kind of the vibe. And they're just like, yeah. But it also makes more sense to me. Like, she was raised outdoors. She was, she was comfortable in this. Because again, even somebody like me who I enjoy the outdoors, I grew up on a little bit of acreage. I still have like a healthy fear of it. Like, I would not, like I said, I would not do something like what she just pulled out or pulled off. I'm not that comfortable with the outdoors, but I don't get a nefarious vibe off the parents.
So that's where it started. Now my boys, they enjoy, like most boys, they enjoy the military side of things. So they enjoy, tearing stuff up. And that's what that's who they are.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how you were feeling. Tell me a little bit about what was going through your mind and that feeling when you got the news that Tiffany's okay.
Tiffany's fine? Oh my God. I mean, that's basically what I can say. I mean, we were at, of all places, Goodwill. Trying to get some clothes because we had heard it was really cold here, and where we are, it's really hot. So he comes and he gets on the phone. It's like, I heard Tiffany, and ran off. And I am just there crying, and I'm trying to figure out, did he just say that? And a woman walks past me, and I just say, can I hug you? And I hugged her, and I cried. It was the most joyous occasion I think any mother could have. I would think anybody that knew their daughter was missing in a mountain or wherever she was, you would love to have them back. And that, it broke my heart, but it was the most joyous thing that I could ever have experienced.
Now, the part where she was talking about asking a stranger if she could hug her, I was just envisioning that. And like, imagine that kind of like if you were that stranger walking by or whatever, that moment of human connectedness of just, and I don't know how it went or whatever, but like just sharing that with, here's this woman who just got this news that my daughter's alive. This has turned into like, we're going to go get her now. Like that. I mean, it gives me goosebumps, that overwhelming sense of like, oh my gosh. Again, I don't get a nefarious vibe about the parents. I just feel like this is something that Tiffany did to see if she could do it. And I feel like she probably has done little things like that her whole life. Like, I just wanted to see if I could jump off the thing. And I guess I jumped a little too high. You know what I mean? I wanted to see if I could, I'm making this stuff up, like just examples. I wanted to see if I could do a backflip off the trampoline. Whoops, sorry, hurt myself. That kind of a situation.
What was it like to see your daughter when you arrived at her?
Oh my God, I had so many ideas. Jumping her and holding her, you want to just do all those things. But because the moment was hers and she was going through some things herself, we didn't have that moment. But just to hold her, she wanted to hold us. She wanted to hold her mom and dad, and I took it in, and I'm just glad to see her, to know that she's alive, and to smell her.
Was she in the hospital when you saw her? Or was
No, she was somewhere else, and we had placed her in a hotel just to keep her safe. She was out of the hospital at the time, but
You must be so proud of her.
I am very proud. I mean, as a parent, we always say, we have adult kids. We can't control them. They can do whatever they want to do. But I'm very proud that she stood her own. I'm proud that she's back. But I will be prouder when she gets a GPS. So that'll be much better. We were talking about Garmin's and different other things, but I wouldn't be much. She could do whatever she wants to do, but just get some kind of GPS. Yeah. And then we can talk every day.
Okay, so the GPS thing, I'm very curious to see if anything comes out of this. Listening to her, like, yep, grown kids, they can do what they want. However, I was waiting for her to be like, I'm going to beat her silly. You know how it is, like when you're like, oh my God, thank God you're okay. No, don't do that again. That kind of a thing. Yeah, I think Tiffany pulls this kind of stuff. I think that's what's going on here. I think there's truth to this. And I just think this was like her next level shenanigans, right? And it was like, Tiffany's gone off into the wilderness and pulled the stunt. No matter what the parents are thinking, would we honestly expect the mom and dad to get up here and be like, oh no, she's lying. Oh no, she did this. Oh, we don't believe her. This ain't Sherry Papini. This is a whole different situation, right? So I would expect them to be this way and to be elated and to be happy and whatever. And then maybe behind closed doors, they can be like, girl, are you crazy? Like you went out without what? No, never again.
We don't keep our kids locked down. This is not a time for us to lock her back in Twigs. We'd love to have her back home when she's home, but her adventure is far from over.
Yeah.
And so what's happening next? I know she was headed to medical school. Is that correct?
That's completely up to her. We have no idea. We are standing back. We're like you guys. What you gonna do next?
Yeah.
You know, but whatever she decides to do, we will be next to her 100%.
So y'all are gonna head back to Georgia and just have some family time.
Yeah.
Most certainly, we will definitely be going back to Georgia, to our little town that we enjoy so much, Swakes County.
All three of you going back?
Oh yes. Even if I have to tie her down, she's coming back home for. And I say that jokingly, but it's so that she has time to recuperate, so that she can go back out and do another type of adventure
With GPS.
With GPS.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You can kind of tell, like, I think between all the things, you can hear the truth come out from the parents. These are things she's not, like, she's one of those people, you see the characters in TV shows all the time, where it's like, this week, I'm doing, the Alaskan Trail. Next week, I'm in the Everglades. Next week, I just think this is what she does. And this one got a little out of control. And also, at the same time, she could try and, like, potentially capitalize on the moment. So it's like she's sitting here, like, that's why I think she's so big on, I'm a forager, I'm a this, well, foraging this, well, foraging that, well, journaling this. It's like her thing. This is just what she does. It's her hobby. It's like, instead of scrolling TikTok, I don't know if she's on TikTok, but she's planning a next event like this. Now, unfortunately, this one cost a lot of people time and money. And I think that's what people have an issue with, is that dynamic of it.
What's this experience done for you guys in your belief for God?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. As far as God, we've always been people who believe in God. That's not going to change. Community, I could tell you, the community here and around the world, so many people got in contact with us, checking on us, just loving on us. And I just totally appreciate every single person who reached out to us. I love people. I don't care, and I've said it so many times, I don't care where you're from, what you look like. I don't care you're religious or not. People, there are good people everywhere. And for whatever reason, and I'm going to say God, but he always connects us to good people. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to take it. I'm glad that he gives it to us. Up days, down days, bad days, good days. We're going to all go through it. Every single one of us are going to go through a bad day. But that doesn't mean that there's not a ray of sunshine somewhere. And everybody in the community around the world showed us the ray of sunshine when I couldn't see it at all. So I definitely want to thank them for that. And I thank you for the prayers. And I'm just so grateful, and I'm so thank you. And the police department and everybody that helped. We were here, and I'm crying earlier. I love every single one of these people that were out there. I'm helping to find Tiffany. And some here even doing it on their days off, overtime. This is just the best community of people that I have ever met. And I just want to say I'm grateful. And thank you, God, for everything.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. They seem just super down to earth people and super nice. At this point, honestly, if it came out that, like, and I'm talking specifically the parents here, that there was some sinister level with them, I would be surprised. Like, I do not think the parents were in some kind of cahoots with their daughter, or anything like that. I think that they have probably had to chase after her whole life, right? And you see how thankful and grateful the mother is for the community and the this and the that and the blah, 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 blah. I think that's really awesome that she's taking the time to express that. Now, let's hear back from the sheriff or the deputy. I'm not sure exactly who he is again right now. I've been going over this for so long. But let's hear back from the authoritative figure, okay? Hear what he has to say to round things out.
Y'all were on days searching for Tiffany. How close was she in, relations to where she was found? Do y'all search? Where does that kind of match up?
Well, that's a good question, because we had sightings from different individuals, and we'd obviously had some video from the China Peak Landing, which is at Huntington Lake. Not really that close. Kaiser Pass was impassable. We had gone up there with some of our off-highway vehicles with tracks on them and couldn't make it. We'd had Eagle One fly into the Edison Lake area of Vermilion Valley Resort to check it out, but we were not really looking that was not an area that you would have anticipated or expected someone to be. And that is what really makes this story so remarkable. And as Foraging said, and their belief in God and the fact that it's a miracle, when she was getting a notification that the Starbucks off of the 395 highway in Inyo or Mono County was closer than even getting back to Huntington Lake, that just goes to show you how far out there she was. I mean, in this time of year with the snow and everything, it was just not an area that you would anticipate anyone to be. As far as we know, people are not really even hiking the Pacific Crest, John Muir Trail in this area right now because of weather and because of snow. So just completely, I mean, truly a miracle that the road was plowed on Tuesday and that this individual that runs the Vermilion Valley Resort got in there and was able to make contact with Tiffany on Wednesday. I mean, it's truly, you know, as she said in her story, there was 12 to 13 snowstorms, anywhere from 10 to 12 feet of snow at different points as you go through these high peaks. And for that to all come together on that day is just truly a miracle. This is, you have to believe that God had a hand in saving Tiffany and getting her home and getting her here with us today.
Okay, so the officer up here talking about the snowstorms and confirming that, to me, that gives that a little bit more validity. And I'm like, yeah, people aren't even really, doing anything on these roads here. This is where I think and again, like the nuances of truth come in. So he's confirming these storms. He's confirming this. He's confirming that the road, oh my gosh, this is a miracle. I think that Tiffany got in over her head. And I think that she's also dramatic. Like, I just think that there's a few things going on there like that before we found someone whose first intention was to deceive and defraud. I don't think that's where she started off at with them. I'm not saying she's doing that now, but I just feel like she got in way over her head. It would literally be like, and I mean, honestly, I'm saying this, but I would do this. It would be like me planning this trip and I'd be like, well, yeah, we're just going to go to Sierra. I mean, I think it's like super cold. So we're going to bring like 2 pairs of sneakers, maybe some of those like little warmer things for your hands or whatever. Red Bull place, right? Coke Zero. Stopping at that Starbucks on the way, maybe like 2 mochas. Might need a tent. You know what I'm saying? Like you can already see a disaster, like if I went and did this, right? So I would expect her to be more prepared. And maybe there is a sense of embarrassment. And again, it's like almost like 2 things can be true at one time or multiple things. So all that can be going on there. And then this happened and she's like, well, I want to get a TV show out of this. I want to get a book out of this. I want to do that kind of a situation.
Is this something that your department has ever experienced before, this kind of miracle?
Not that I can think of after this many days that she was out there. And we started our search on May 1st. And then obviously on May 14th on Wednesday is when she was located at Vermilion Valley Resort. When you think about the weather and you think about the altitude, the elements and everything that she was in, and then obviously if you can look at this on a map and going back to the Hopkins Lake Trail and where we're going to go recover her bike from, where her bike was left. I mean, it's a very, very remote area. There's no real roads in the area. There might be a few little Forest Service or logging roads here and there. But it truly is a story of survival and determination by Tiffany. There's no other way I can explain it. I've worked for the sheriff's office for almost 30 years. I've grown up here. I spend a lot of time up in that area. I would have never anticipated her in my wildest dreams being able to get back as far as she did. But now we know this is something that we will learn from in the future. Expect the unexpected.
Now, another thought that I just had watching this. So remember where they're talking about when she's in this trek and on it, there's no eyewitnesses to what really went on. How do we know that this isn't what's going on and that's what's making it give? Like, what's up? He's sitting here, even the officer, like, I don't know how she got up there. I don't know how she did this. What if when she's like, oh, I ran out of food and I did this. Oh, then I lost my thing. What if that was like on the last day? What if she was going along just doing just fine? She's camping. She's eating her little, whatever she said she had. She's making snow soup. She's doing this. And then the last day, she's like, you know what? Here's this thing. I'm going to go out. I'm going to get rid of my stuff. I'm going to kind of stage a situation. And then, whatever. She might have just been like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm not going to do this. Some level of that. That could also account for the lack of like, why don't you have more scars on you or more batterings? And now, mind you, I haven't seen her. She's in a blanket. But even just, she doesn't look unwell. Like even before we can see of her, like she just looks okay. The picture they took of her in that thing, she's like, I mean, come on. So again, this is where I'm just saying, I think several things were true at one time. And I'll bet you anything that she didn't lose this stuff as soon off as she describes, right? She could have concocted a lot of the stories. She could have been fine the whole time. She might not have ever even gone down the hill. People are complicated. Like, she could have been like, you know what? I'm mad at my family. I'm not talking to them. And then went off and did this, and it was like, ooh, I'm messed up. I better come up with something good, right?
Sergeant Scott Weitzer coming
Yeah.
real quick. Sorry, Scott. I'm going to
Go ahead, Scott.
Scott has extensive background in search and rescue, and he helped head up this mission. I figured he'd kind of put it into context of how incredible this is.
Yeah, she truly has an absolutely amazing story of survival. And my last 15 years on search and rescue, we haven't experienced anything close to this. As far as you talked about how close she was to our search area, we use past missing person behavior. There's a lot of literature out there on what people typically do in certain situations. She was so far off the spectrum with that it was absolutely crazy. The search areas we have volunteers. We had a lot of our neighboring counties coming and assisting. And after reviewing our tracks, we drove or walked over 4,300 miles looking for her. And when you have a search area that's almost 700 square miles, it's hard to narrow down the exact location.
Again, on this part right here where he's talking about she went so far off the spectrum with, the expectation and like historically, like how people, interact and do whatever he's trying to say, like with, past situations. That is red flaggy to me. I'm not trying to say there's not a one-off or whatever, but this is where I think that this contributes to, there could be some embellishing going on here, right? There could be a little bit of like, okay, we're making this a little bit more extra than it really was. So all those channels that I mentioned, with the stories and whatnot, you'll hear these cases where, a little kid, he wanders off and, they find him 20 miles with some crazy amount, right? And I even look at my own experience of doing on the beginner hikes that I do and whatnot. That's usually a way of like, you're going to a point and coming back or doing a circle or something. And it amazes me just how far 1 mile is in the woods and how freaky it can get, and where things look similar, it gets scary. And so if there was not a real, I'm on a marked trail, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I do need a GPS, I can see how that would get out of control really quickly.
Tiffany, I know you're still recuperating and getting back to yourself, but kind of wrap it up. What do you take away from this? How will you never forget this experience for the rest of your life?
Well, one of the biggest things that you get a lot of time to do when you're on a mountain literally by yourself is you start thinking sage-like thoughts about what can you do to make the world a better place, or how can you make an impact in a positive way. I have gotten to meet some of America's best humans outside of all of the political jargon that you see on television. I now believe in different types of humans. And as much as I have missed my first chance of going to medical school, I do have a feeling that the healthcare world is going to see me again.
Okay, now I thought this was an interesting thing that she brings up about different humans and different this and different that. She definitely just has a different way of expressing her thoughts. Like by saying humans instead of people and this and that and blah, 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 right? But I thought it was a beautiful thing that she said, right? In a world of differences, she saw people, wow, this person's trying to help me, this person's trying to do whatever. Now, also during this, she was supposed to be doing some kind of medical school, like whatever she was going to be doing, she missed it. So there's that too. Again, where I think multiple things are true with this, she might have been like, look, I'm not ready to do the entrance thing or whatever. I'm making this up, speculation. I'm not ready to do the entrance exam thing. So I'm just going to go off on a journey and we'll revisit that and see whatever, right?
How much are you going to recover? Will you be okay?
Based on what the doctors have told me, it may be repairable. I will have to see about it in the future with some of these recovery processes that my parents are going to have to help me with.
Like surgery or what?
Maybe not surgery, but it is going to take a long time for these kind of conditions to actually just work themselves out. And I haven't had a chance to see a doctor. The big reason that I kept moving in the first place is my parents are not the richest people in the world. So it will take a while for me to figure out who I need to see, how much that's going to cost, and what some of those logistics are.
Now, this is one thing that people definitely have a problem with in the comment sections is this. My parents aren't the richest, and one reason I kept moving, and how am I going to pay for the doctor? This kind of thing right here. Now, again, she could be totally legitimately saying that, but definitely you can just imagine, given the situation or whatever, where people's their little radar is going, someone talking about money and how do I pay for this and blah, 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 even if that's a normal thought, but also seeing her, I'm trying to do both sides here, the way that she thinks or seems to, or whatever I can tell, that just might be, she might just think out loud, right? And that could be like her thought process there, because I don't think the intention was to grift in the beginning.
No blindness, is that what you would liken it to?
I think that when I was being checked out by the doctor, partially because of my foraging, they were really shocked about how good my numbers were. But I'm confident that it's around 10 or 20% of snow blindness that I did receive. I'm not sure what the rest of it looks like because I may have been a aspiring med student, but I'm not a doctor just yet.
Tiffany,
Do you still have your journal, Tiffany?
I do. I haven't gone through it yet because I have to figure out how to open doors first.
Tiffany, do you think you restoring in a book, writing a book about you restoring to follow another one?
I don't know. I may think about that.
So this is what I'm talking about right here, that whole thing. I don't know, I did keep my journal, but I'm not going to open it until I figure out how to open doors again. This is a drama queen. This is what I'm talking. This is a drama queen. Okay. Period. End of story. She could have stumped her toe and she would have the same story, right? Talking about 5 landslides, 3 avalanches. It's like, girl, you stumped your toe. Okay. I think that at the heart of this issue that's throwing people is you're dealing with a drama queen, right? A very adventurous drama queen. Let's just keep going. We'll get back to my final thoughts here. We're almost done.
That the first thing you asked for was peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Talk a little bit about that. I'm allergic to peanut butter, but I can only imagine you craving that.
So when you're hiking in general, the first thing that all of the professionals tell you is that you want to make sure to keep a lot of carbs and a lot of proteins. There's a couple of different, I am a nutritionist, but there's a couple of different ways that you are able to power your body for a long period of time.
That whole, the professionals will tell you, protein in this. I am a nutritionist. She just has these intrusive thoughts. Some of it I completely identify with, right? Where I'm like, you just speak what's blurting out in your mind, right? But like a lot of her stuff just circles back around to herself. She's a pre-Olympian something archer. She's a dialysis person. She's an archer coach or something. She's a nutritionist. She wants to go to medical. You see what I'm saying? Where it's just like, girl, what don't you do? And a survivalist now.
The one thing that I was unable to purchase when I started was a loaf of bread. So the entire time that I was going, I kept trying to figure out what can I forage to make carbs. And at the end, all I wanted was a sandwich. Now that I've had leeks in water for such a long time, it's almost like I've never had food before. So when I got to Vermilion Resort and Raven and the guys gave me some of what they had brought, I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it was the best PB&J I've ever had.
Yeah, this is, again, what I just keep seeing the drama queen stuff. Like that really just kind of extra person where she's like, it was like, and she's probably not lying, but if your body went through this where I'm eating onion soup basically, right? And nothing else. Yeah, your body would completely just get down to whatever. But I could see her being like, no guys, I appreciate you offering me that, but I'm going to have to wean myself back onto the food. Do you have a peanut butter and jelly? You know what I'm saying? Like just this dramatic way of recounting things.
And you mentioned you wanted to go to Mono Hot Springs. How was your experience? I know it's probably not what you pictured.
I actually missed it. The avalanche happened before I got a chance to even see it, so I'm hoping that eventually I'll get a chance to come and see it, A, with a GPS, and B, probably with a car, so that I don't have to have so many issues.
Tiffany, real quick, the Royal Gazette messaged me out of Bermuda. They want to know, do you have a message to the people of Bermuda?
I will be back for archery quite soon, and I do hope that you're looking forward to seeing me.
Was Nono's Hot Springs where you had planned to go? Was that your initial destination? And also, what was on the 25th that you had kind of left the trail or started on the trail to get out there?
There's a lot of different talk around the time frame that people think that they've seen me. I am a high-level archery coach as well as an athlete, and the only day that I had to start for my vacation was actually the 20th. On Easter.
I should have kept a checklist at the beginning of all the things. So high something or other, archer, coach, this, that, the other. The list doesn't end. Now, again, can't you see her like this, dressed like this, glasses, hair, book bag, all this type of stuff, doing an electric bike, headed down like, almost like this, like, I just woke up today and decided I'm going to go on this hike. That kind of energy, that's just, it's what I get from it. It's what I see here. The whole dynamic where it's just like, oh my God, it doesn't matter what you say. She's going to turn it back around to, I did that, I did that, I did that. She's a vibe. Okay, when you say people are vibe, like this is the definition of she is a vibe.
That was the day that I went up. I'm not the type of person to come back until I have at least tried to take a vacation because I am a healthcare professional. I had just finished being, for lack of a better term, burned out from doing a few jobs, and I was adamant about at least trying a vacation once. I don't believe I'll do a long one ever again.
The way she speaks about a vacation and a long one, I was adamant about doing a vacation, a long one. It's such an odd way to speak. It's almost like her definition of vacation is different than what mine is. Where I'm like, you keep talking about this, like doing a vacation. What are you talking about? Is like doing a vacation like I'm dialing out for 2 weeks in the wilderness? Like, what does that mean? Why does she speak of it in this way? But this is the oddity of how she kind of translates her thoughts and whatnot out here. It's just, it comes off as a little bit awkward. And I think that that's a contributing factor to what's kind of put a lot of people off.
Are you on the archery team for Bermuda? Explain.
In order for you to be a member of Bermuda's archery team or the United States archery team, you have to participate for a certain time frame. Because of COVID and my parents that I love very much being so high risk during COVID, I stepped off of the field. They needed someone to buy groceries and to be able to take care of the household in places they couldn't go. I still am that person as the oldest child. I will be attempting to recontinue the circuit though soon, because if it wasn't for my skills in archery and the experience I had in Bermuda in order to compete, I don't think I would have been able to walk as many miles a day as I did.
Again, that my parents I love very much. I had to come off the field. I had to do this, like, you know, and again, great for you. Great they have you. Great you did that. Intense personality. Everything is very, you know, I had to go do this. Everything is dramatic. Okay, we're going to get to my final thoughts in a minute. I swear. I keep wanting to have them, but good Lord, let's just get through a couple more clips.
From the day you got rescued till today, to this very moment, have you had any time to just like sit there by yourself or just think to yourself, hey, I'm here, I made it, my parents are right there? I mean, just to reflect?
Well, my first day was actually in the hospital. I had heard of people that had been rescued. Before me, the only person that I'd heard of that had kind of, I don't want to call it the record, but the person that had lasted was 9 days, and they were skin and bones. I was expecting tests and being hooked up to saline, and within 5 hours, they had already said, well, we're just going to check you out, so go find a hotel.
Did you lose weight?
I've lost about 5 kilos, but my blood work is apparently better than before I even started, so I'm a little confused, or maybe my skills are just that good.
This part right here, she was like, the person who holds my, I hate to call it the record, This is where you were getting at here. And then when she was like, well, within 5 hours, they were discharging me. That is huge. Okay. That is very weird. That is very, very odd to me. I think that she was very aware of the person who had the record. She said that that's a little slip up on her part. Again, do I think this is nefarious and evil? No, right? I think that this is I don't want to say bored, but like, because clearly she does everything, but like, a very interesting person with a lot of like fantasies. I think she just wanted to do it. She probably wanted to beat the record. She probably wanted to do this. She wanted to do that. I think that most of the trip she was okay. I think she exaggerated a lot of the details. I think she probably was fine for most of the trip, even if she was lost. Because remember, there's no one to say what really happened other than her. She could have foraged around. She could have gotten somewhere and then gone straight and made a beeline for this place and hung out in that cabin for who knows how long. And then made it all up and ate her stuff and did this and then went out and threw her stuff away somewhere. Right? She could have done all these things. She could have also done exactly what she said here. I don't know. I wasn't there.
2.2 pounds is 1 kilo.
You lost about 10 pounds?
Yes, I think so. So I'm working on that along with a couple of the other recovery items. I can't really rush that process. At least that's what I've been told by professionals.
How did you make that phone call that day?
I had gotten in contact with the owners of Vermilion Resort. They're wonderful people. Raven managed to remind me that, a phone is kind of an important aspect. When I had gotten into the Avalanche, I had lost mine. And he let me borrow it. And the first thing that I could think of was the 10 things that I wanted to do if I managed to survive. And one was to tell my parents that I loved them. I also didn't want to die because I did not have a GPS.
What was you say you witnessed so many different kind of animals. Talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, did you see a bear?
Well, bears are kind of common in the Sierras. I did my best not to participate too often with the animals. Keeping moving in an emergency situation outside of when you're supposed to stay put is very important. A couple of the animals I'm not very familiar with the names of because I'm from an island. We don't have mountain lions in Bermuda.
This is just, I literally, I know people like this, okay? This is just an insanely socially awkward person, okay? One of the things going on. Now, where she was sitting here talking about well, one of the things to do in a panic emergency thing is you don't want to interact with the animals, do this and keep moving. And she talks like a professional. And hey, if she legitimately survived 24 days, she might as well damn well be, right? So who am I to say? But she toots her horn too much, right? Everything she does is kind of like this, tooting her own horn. There's no better way to say it. Tooting her own horn. And then just the cringy kind of jokes and stuff that just don't land really well. Sometimes the people are like, but it's just she has this way about her.
But I did come in contact with those, and after talking with Raven about some of the things that I had heard of, he's one of the owners for Vermilion Valley. I did come in contact with, I think it's a mountain goat of some sort. I thought it was a pack of wild dogs at first, but there's also no dogs in the Sierras, so those were coyotes. I don't really want to focus too much on a lot of it because most of the time for foraging, you're not supposed to hunt when you're on these trails. But when you do manage to find food, the animals are also in competition with you. And on many occasions, I fought nature and lost. So I'm not super excited to identify all of them just yet.
I don't even really know what she was talking about. I fought nature and lost, and I'm not ready to identify them yet. I'm identify what? The animals you saw? And it could be just me. It's like I'm not following the logic, and not even the logic, but the way she's telling the story and parts of it, I'm not following it. I'm like, what do you mean? Is this a joke? Are you serious? Again, it's the extreme social awkwardness.
Is this your first time in California, or you've been here before?
Like I said before, I'm a high-level archery coach. I was given the wonderful opportunity to participate in the Warrior Games as a judge. So I have been here a few times. However, there are so many different types of terrains for California that I feel like every time I come, it's the first time I've been here.
What made you want to come specifically here for this 3-day vacation?
I had actually started my journey a while ago attempting to bike the United States and have been was very successful because I only have 6 states left. The goal after Mono Hot Springs was to hit 4 corners and then the last 2.
So this is what I'm talking about, where I'm like, her parents are exhausted, whatever. This is just what she does. I'm going to go bike across this state, that state, whatever. Hardcore outdoor enthusiast, doing this, doing that, could have gotten in over her head, right? Literally, it could just be that. She also seems just kind of aloof, and I don't know if that's the right word, but almost just one of these people that's just like, I'm just kind of bouncing through the day, you know, not really paying attention to, I don't know how to describe it, but just kind of free spirit. We're foraging, we're picking flowers, you know, that kind of just vibe or whatever. And she could have just gotten in over her head.
What was your reaction seeing all the media covered trying to put your name out there and find a way for us to find you?
This is actually the first time I have seen anything. I have not. It's been 3 days and in the wilderness with no phone, no tent, and no map. I didn't exactly have any opportunity to use Instagram, Facebook, or any of those.
We've not told her
We've not
anything.
allowed her to.
Yeah, they've also not told me anything.
No idea.
She has none.
So this coming in to see you guys, you guys look great.
All right, maybe one more question, guys, and then we'll let them get back to their day. Anything else?
We really appreciate you coming and talking to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. And I would also like to say thank you for all of the people that helped to try and find me and for all of the hard work.
Okay, so you heard there at the end where she's like, yeah, my parents won't let me look at that because people are like ripping her to shreds on social media, right? And that would be traumatic for anyone. And she does seem like a free spirit where that could, you know, emotionally harm her probably. So here's my thing. You know, I started this off. This is the 3rd time I've watched this. Okay, I watched it originally. Then I like recorded it to chop it up. But for whatever reason, it didn't record half the audio to it. So then I redid it this morning. And so listen to it there. This is like probably the 4th time. That being said, I really entered into this at first being like, and not thinking like, oh, it's a Sherry Papini thing. Oh, it's a Carly Russell thing, but somewhere in that family. And after watching it so many times, these are the top things that are coming to my mind. Number 1, like I said, drama queen, embellishing, major outdoor person, getting in over their head, potentially just making up a lot of the details. And those didn't really happen, or they're so over embellished, they might not as well happen. Right? However you say that. So her getting up here, she's kind of laughing. She's making these jokes. She just kind of seems like a, yeah, dude. Yeah. You know, yeah, dude, we're chilling. Just like a certain vibe. Like I can 100% see her on an e-bike. Vroom. I'm going to hike the Appalachian energy, right? Nothing wrong with that, but it's just, she gives off this vibe. Do I believe all that she says that happened? No. But in this, with a caveat, I think on some level it did. Do I think that she survived an avalanche where she was swept up and this and that and blah, 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 blah? No, clearly, obviously not. Do I think she could have saw an avalanche or a miniature one could have happened? Sure, right? Now, I did see in the comment section people saying like, those aren't happening this time of year, but again, I'm not from that area, so I don't know. 13 massive snowstorms, I'm sure that did happen up at those, you know, elevations and whatnot. I mean, you have the cops saying, you know, like, yeah, that's that's going on, right? I think that she did better in the way of she made her food last way longer. I think she had her food and shelter and stuff way longer than she's leading on to. I think this was another thing to do. I think she got into it. Maybe she got turned around. Maybe this or that happened and she kind of went with it. But again, I think this is somebody that if they walked to the grocery store and bought something and came back, that would be a 30-minute dramatic story of like, oh my gosh. Yes. And then like when we crossed the corner on aisle 5, oh, brace yourselves because it got really bad. You know, and it's just like, what are you talking about? She also has, in my opinion, while she's very well spoken and sounds like really educated, she has an odd way of like getting thoughts across, right? And there could be something else going on with her. I don't know. But it's just some of the ways that she's doing it's like either socially awkward or, you know, just her way of whatever. But it doesn't make good for, and there's, I don't know how to say this without reducing it down, but like for media, right? This is how would I be? I'd probably be doing the same thing up there. You know what I'm saying? This is a press conference. She's not doing this normally. She's up there. It's awkward. This whole room's looking at you. You've been gone, whether right, wrong, or different, whatever. I get it. Okay. But overall, I do not think this is a Sherry Papini anymore. I don't think this is a Carly Russell. I don't think we're dealing with someone nefarious. I don't think we're dealing with somebody evil. I don't think we're dealing with somebody who wants to throw other people under the bus. I just don't think she's those things. I think she could just be, you know, just a really extra person. So, you know, glad she's home. Glad the parents are going to bring her back. Glad they're going to kind of recalibrate everything, right? So that is it. I know this is a long one. I do appreciate you if you're still watching. If you could, while you're in the comment section, drop some little sofas off to, you know, celebrate the new sofa being back, and for Roscoe in spirit, and Bo and Luke, who are at home right now, and myself and you, the Sofa Squad. That way we'll have a place to hang out and talk about the Tiffany's, the Carlys, the Sherrys, the Jodys, the Lorys, all of those people. And until we all hang out down there in that comment section and do that, I'll see y'all soon.
I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Ross on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey, welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup that hey, come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.